So we're going to prepare a raster image, a bitmap, for engraving on wood. And then we're going to burn it to birch and basswood plywood to see which one looks the best. Now, finding the perfect photo to do that with is not the easiest thing. It would be easy if we just turned it into a vector and burned it that way. But to keep it a bitmap and burn it, it takes a little work to get the photo just right. So to get a high resolution photo, I went to ChatGPT and I asked it for this photo here. I asked it for a butterfly perched on a flower, and it gave me this. So then I went back and I asked it to remove the background, which is always a good idea, or at least a lot of times it's a good idea to do that before burning the photo. It gave me this. I prepped it and then I burned it on the birch, and I got this, which was a failure because you can see the flower did not have defined enough edges for it to show up. So I went back to ChatGPT and I asked it for a purple flower with no background. And that's where we're going to start. So we just want to go up to import, and we're going to grab that photo, and this is where we're going to start. So for adjustments, you can do the adjustments before you resize, or you can do it after. But we'd want to apply a mask, which we'll do to get rid of this extra background. Even though ChatGPT removed it, you still have the outline here. So we'll just go ahead and adjust the image first, and then we will reset it. So we're going to put this on. Let me grab a layer here that's good and visible. And based upon a material test, I've done birch and basswood plywood, and a good median is about 70 millimeters per second and 25% power. And that's on a 40 watt diode laser. So you want to select your image, right click, and go down to adjust image. And then you get this window that's popped up on another screen. So you have all of these adjustments that you can make, but one thing you want to do first is do a preview. Uh-oh, I didn't mean to move it there. Do a preview and see what it looks like to begin with. And you can see what areas, how the differences or the contrast would be. So it's helpful to do that. And then you can see the adjustments take effect as you go through. So just click OK, go back, right click, and adjust image. So we have image modes over here on the left. And the best modes to use are the Stuckey, Jarvis, or Dithered. And to determine which one, let me make this a little bigger. You can scroll in on areas. You can use your mouse wheel to do that with. You can scroll in on areas and you can see the changes if it gets better or worse as you go through the modes. And you'd want to do this to begin with at the beginning, and then do it again after you've made your adjustments to see if there is a significant difference. So based on that preview, we know that we have to adjust the contrast, and that just brings out the differences between the light and the dark areas. And then LightBurn in the background does some crazy mathematical stuff to figure out which one should be dark and light and what the pixels should be. And we're gonna change those a little bit as well. The DPI we're gonna change a little bit. So let's just start with the contrast, and we'll just move it up a little bit. And I had pretty good luck with 4, so I'm gonna go with 4. And brightness, I'm gonna go up to 18. And you'll have to play with these and go back and forth and look at your preview to see what works best. The gamma deals with the mid-tones. The stark contrast items, not so much, but mid-tones, maybe like the center of the flower. And you do have some photos that really don't have a mid-tone. If you were doing a photo of a panda where it's just a stark black and white difference, or a zebra, something like that, you wouldn't have midtones unless you had a background that you needed to bring into to view that you wanted to keep. So the gamma, I backed off on it a little bit in my test and went to 675. So that's where I'm trying to get to. We'll go with 650. So your line interval, if you've done a test, you know that for the most part, diode lasers interval is set to 1. But in this instance, it is tied to the DPI. If you change the interval, it doesn't change the DPI. But if you change the DPI, it does change the interval. So I'm going to go up to about 290, and you can see that the interval is changing accordingly. And after we get the adjustments made that we think we need, and we go look at a preview, we can make further adjustments if needed. Okay, so now we want to bring out the edges. Now these edges on the butterfly are really well defined, but the flower, you want to be sure that you can see these edges when it's done. So the radius is how you make that adjustment. So we're going to take this up a little bit, right about there, and then the amount of enhancement, so take it up to 150. And now is a good time to check between modes to see what kind of differences you can tell. So just pull in on a part, or you can look at the whole thing, but you can see how the laser is going to fire on the dark areas and not fire on the lighter areas. And you can see how much difference there is between the modes. Most people use, as best I can tell, most people use Stuckey or Jarvis or Dithered. And one thing, when you bring a photo in, it has to be converted to grayscale. And luckily, that's done automatically by LightBurn. So you can see we started with a color photo, and LightBurn converted that to grayscale. So that's something extra step you don't have to do anymore. I'm not sure if you had to do it in the beginning. I just know it's required for this to work. So pick now some of these others, you have others, but they're ridiculous. So, you know, you may have photos at some point that you want to use some of these other versions with, but you can see how they come out, and you'll just have to play around with it and see what works best for you. Okay, so we have, oh, over here, presets. You have presets, but it's not, let's click this basic and see. It doesn't really, it hasn't worked out for me yet. There may be some instances that it will, but it's not easy picking the perfect photo to do this with. Like I said, if you're going to turn it into a vector and burn it, it's no problem. But prepping the photo to get it just right, it takes a little work. So I'm going to go back to nothing. I hope I didn't mess it up. I'm going to click OK and then open it back up. Maybe if I can quit selecting it. And I'm going back to adjust image. It's still got basic there, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. You do have black paint on white, and that will invert your photo. Let's just click it. It'll invert the photo. Now, there's some instances that you would want to invert it. If your photo is lighter than the material that you're putting it on, you would invert it. Or if I've done a video not too long ago where I put it on the back of a mirror. So if you're going to shine light through that photo, you would want to invert. And you can see when we flipped from black and white to black and white, the invert button was on here. I really don't know how to get rid of that basic setting. I guess I'm going to have to change these back. So we had 4 on contrast and 18 on brightness and 675 or 650 on, there's 675. That's good. And we want a DPI. I know I'm rambling some, but this does take quite a bit of testing and trial and error. I'm trying to get back down around 290 or so on the DPI. And I certainly don't have all of this figured out, but I have played with it quite a bit. So we're going to click OK. And we're going to go look at the preview and see how well defined it is. So now we can see we had mostly just a black figure when we checked it first, and this looks pretty good. Is it the best? I don't know, but we'll burn it and see how it turns out. I guess if it's too bad, we'll do it again. But one thing you want to do, you'll have some photos you want a little bit of the background, but not the whole thing. So if you pull one in, it has a background, you want to crop your photo down. You can get a rectangle here and just draw it out where you think you want it. Something like that. And then put it on a tool layer. Down here you have T1 and T2. Those are tool layers. And to crop, I'm pretty sure it needs to be on a tool layer. And then click your selector tool. Select everything together. And then you can see how it's behind. The photo is larger than the area that we marked off with the tool. And you can right click and apply mask to image. And we can select again. It's still there, and you could move that photo around like that. So get it where you want it. Make sure everything's captured that you want. Then select everything together, right click, and flatten image mask. And then all you have is your photo. The tool disappears after you do that. So like I said, we're going to burn this to birch and to some basswood plywood. And we're going to resize it. We're going to go smaller. If we went too much larger, it would probably distort a little bit after making our adjustments. But we'll take it. So select it, leave your lock on. I'm just going to go a height of about 70 millimeters. I think that's around 3 inches. And we're going to get 2 of these guys and just get them lined up and burn it to birch and basswood at the same time. And let's take another look at the preview, make sure I didn't mess anything up too bad. Nope, still looks pretty good. Now, if you do your preview and it has lines going across, that's an indicator that you may need to increase your DPI. So let me go back and adjust and back off on the DPI, and you can see. Now, if I didn't say this already, the original photo is on the left, the adjusted photo is on the right. If I didn't say that in the beginning, I apologize. So let's back off. I believe we started at 254, somewhere around there. We're going to go back to that and see if we can show the difference on that preview. Okay, 254. Let's take a look at the preview. And you can see some lines going across. Not too bad. Let's try it again. Let's back off a little more. It'd be one of them things that might take you a little while to figure out. And you can see some lines in here. If that happens, just know that you can increase your DPI a little bit at a time, and it may clear it up. It did for me earlier. I'm just going to put this back on 290. And there we go. Okay, so again, you can see how the line interval changed. 0.1 is pretty standard for a diode laser, but in this case, it does adjust when you adjust the DPI. Okay, let's jump into laser, burn this, and see what we got. Okay, folks, I'll be right back. Okay, we got Baltic Birch on the left, Basswood on the right. Both are plywood, 3 millimeter. The Baltic Birch is a sturdier wood and harder than the Basswood. Basswood's really soft. It engraves good. But we'll see which one works best with a photo. So let's run it and see what we got. Okay, well, based on this, the birch has already done better. But before I pull this up, I want to, I think, reduce the speed and increase the power. And we'll run this over again. We got it going, we might as well keep going. And I did not use air, so I only use the exhaust. So let me change the speed and power, and I'll make it clear what I've done at the end, and let's run it again and see what we get. Okay, well that looks better. Let me pull this up. We'll get a closer look at it. Maybe put a coat of polyurethane on it. But we're going to look first and then maybe put the polyurethane on. Okay, so here's what we got. On the left we have Baltic Birch. On the right we have Basswood plywood. We're on a 40-watt diode laser. We started with 70 millimeters per second and 25% power on both accounts. And you can see the features didn't complete, but certainly the Baltic Birch looks better than the Basswood plywood. Then we adjusted on the lower ones to 50 millimeters per second and 40% power, which may be a little too much power. I think I could have got more detail with a little less power, but it looks better. And the Baltic Birch is the clear winner. So I've got some learning to do, and I'll keep testing and sharing what I learn along the way. I think I'm going to put some clear coat on this one and see if it'll bring the features out a little better. So let me do that, and when it dries, I'll be back. Okay, here we are with a little clear coat on the one that turned out the best over here on the Baltic Birch. And it did help, but I could work with the settings some more and maybe get some better definition on the flower. If you give this a try, just remember to start with a high definition photo, something with some good contrast, and then you can work with the settings and get it to something you like. And just remember to check the preview before you burn, and you'll have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. Now at this point in time, I would say the Baltic Birch is better for photos. That may change over time, but right now it seems pretty clear. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody. If it was, please like and subscribe, share, comment. It's all appreciated. It helps the channel grow, and it keeps me out in the shop, and I'll keep testing things and I'll keep sharing with you folks. So if you have questions, let me know. I'm glad to answer them anytime. Check back often for new videos. You folks take care, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank you.